Hello, everyone, and welcome to Torah with your host, Rabbi Anibal. Welcome, David. Welcome, Brenda. Who else is there? Say hello. I always like to see who is around. And also, if you're having coffee with me, type it in the chat. I'm having coffee with a rabbi. I would like to know, as always. Well, hello. And yeah, it's another opportunity for us to study Torah. We are going to give people a few more minutes to join the class and to study this week's Parsha. Okay, Brenda, just whenever you're ready, I will be ready with my espresso here. Okay? The temperature in Winnipeg is getting better, finally. We can already see where this is going. Hopefully, it's going to stay like that. We had a few days with temperature above 0 Celsius, of course. Celsius, and I'm saying this because I know many people here in the. We'll see. Although I think it's going to. We may have a few days kind of chill at night, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes here in Winnipeg. And I will report as soon as I see the geese, as I do it every year. You know, when I see the first geese coming back to Canada, which means the spring is coming, I will let you know as soon as I see it. Okay? So that is important as well for people. You know, you should see people's faces here in Winnipeg when, after a long, long winter, they start seeing the first geese coming back, and the noise that in the middle of the summer is the most annoying thing you can have, the noise of the geese. But then when they start coming, that is the most beautiful noise. It's music. It's music. David, you have chocolate-covered espresso beans. Yeah, of course it does. Brenda, you said 65 Fahrenheit here now, but I don't know what that is in Celsius. Let me know, because right here is -7 Celsius, which is nothing compared to the -40 that we used to have before. This was a unusually cold winter, by the way. Right? It's I will type it here for anybody who would like to. I just typed it in the chat for anybody who'd like to check on Google and let me know how much that is on Fahrenheit, -7. And also Brenda, she says 65 Fahrenheit in Texas. I would like to also know how much is that in Celsius, so we can compare. I don't know why, but it's just out of curiosity, I guess. We don't really need to compare, but it's cool. It's cool to know what is going on around the globe with the temperature. Oh, about 18 degrees. 18 degrees Celsius, I will be on my electric scooter already, coming and going everywhere. Yeah, I want this snow to melt so I can take my scooter out of the basement and start going places. I miss my kick scooter, let me tell you. One of the best purchases I ever had in my life. This scooter. Okay. Shelly Chochinov. Hello, Shelly. 18.33. Yeah. Around 18 degrees. Very nice. So, Shelly, you were saying, I like your idea today about the Batman thing. And I'm thinking maybe I should get a uniform for Dor Hadash, for my choir, all dressed on Batman t-shirts for Purim, because the choir is coming and we were thinking to do something different this year. So let's see. I will have to talk to their parents to see what they think. And yeah. Hello, Randy. Welcome. 24 degrees in Florida. Is it 24 or minus 24? I think you put there minus 24. I hope it's plus 24. I can't believe that it will be minus 24 in Florida. If it is, they are going to. It's hot, okay? Yeah. Minus 24 in Florida, they're going to lose all the citrus if that happens. Not good for the economy. Plus 24, yes. Okay, let me bring the class because this is a very interesting parsha. It's a continuation of last week's parsha. In reality, there are three parshiot that one is a continuation of the other. It's not that the parshiot, the Torah portions, are not connected to each other. Don't get me wrong. They're all connected. But here, I can see the logic behind these three topics being connected. So, what I'm talking about is 2 weeks ago, we read about the Ten Commandments, the most intense spiritual experience in human history, if you wish, at least from the Jewish point of view. I don't want to sound triumphalist, right? Because I know that there are many other cultures that they would say that they have their own most intense spiritual experience in human history. But at least from the Jewish point of view, is the Ten Commandments. But the week after the Ten Commandments, it's like there is a force bringing us down to earth. As high as we went with the Ten Commandments, now is all the way down. Okay? And God gave us commandments to regulate society. Nothing to do with spirituality. Society. I guess to let us know how the Torah is comprehensive. Torah is not just for spirituality, or Torah is not just for society. Torah is for every aspect of our lives. And immediately after, we have the, how you call it? Right now in this parsha, we have God asking for donations. Okay? Spirituality, civil rules, we realize how wise the Torah is, and immediately God is asking for a check. We're going to study that because it's very important, and I think there is a logic between the three. Brenda, you said the recent video Dor Hadash is amazing. Oh, Brenda, let me tell you, you should wait to see the next one. In fact, you know what? Let me add it, and I will play it at the end of the class. I just have to upload it. I will upload it, and this is gonna tell me. Well, here, the system I think is gonna tell me when the video is up, so I can play it for all of you. It's going to go to our congregation next week, or maybe tomorrow, maybe next week. But to me, it's the best song from Dor Hadash ever. So I see if I can show it to you guys as a reward for your loyalty here at Trollheim. Okay, so for now, let's go to our study, to our parsha, to learn about these donations that God requested from people. So, right out of the bat, God asked Moses to ask the Jewish people to bring donations, okay? And it says, and this is the offering which you shall receive from them: gold, silver and bronze, blue and purple and red stuff, and fine twined linen, goat's hair, tanned ram skin, goat skin, acacia wood, oil for the lamp, spices for the anointing oil, and for the fragrant incense, onyx stone, and gemstone for setting, for the ephod, and for the breastpiece. Those were parts of the priest garments. and let them make me a sanctuary, and I may dwell in their midst. So basically, God is asking for donations, saying, I won't give you this sanctuary miraculously, which God could have done. They said, no, you have to build it. And to build it, you're going to need a bunch of things. You're going to need metal. You're going to need different kind of woods and leathers and oils, and get all these donations together, and then make a sanctuary. Make me a sanctuary, said God. Make me a sanctuary. In this day will be make me a synagogue, and that's why we, even in these days, we still operate pretty much the same way. We operate the same way, where we do it. We build synagogues, or we renew synagogues, remodulate synagogues through donations. Exactly what's happening here at the Shari Zedek. So it's not that the board invented it. Yeah. So this is everything that it was requested from them. And the first thing you're gonna notice when you see all this list of donations is that it would probably apply, each item will probably apply to different parts of the Jewish people. Not everybody will have gold to offer. Not everybody will have silver or bronze, right? Or blue or purple. So, in other words, I think this list, what it's saying is, see how you can help. Some people will help with money, some people will help with other things, like oil, for example. The oil, it needs skills to do it. So if you have the skills to make the oil, bring it to the temple. So it's just an amazing thing. So, but the rabbis go even further with this list. And let me explain to you, okay? Because they say that after everything was done in this way, the cloud covered the tent of meeting, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle, which is very interesting. It means that it was successful. It was a success. Everybody donated when they need to donate. The the sanctuary was finished, and it was finally inaugurated. And the way God made it clear of God's approval of this amazing building was that the cloud covered the tent of meeting, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. Okay, so what is the tent of meeting? Remember from last class, I think I mentioned it. If you remember what is a tent of meeting, please type it in the chat. I need some coffee. Let's see. Hello, Holly. Holly, I just saw your name here. Welcome to the class. What is the tent of meeting? Okay, the shul. No. Okay, the tent of meeting was a section of the tabernacle where God would communicate with Moses. Okay, so the way it worked is when Moses was not allowed to enter to the tent of meeting to receive new laws, there will be a cloud there. So Moses couldn't go there; he has to be invited or summoned by God. Without an invitation, Moses wasn't even able to enter there. So God will call Moses, and then the cloud will move a little bit. Yes, the oil moed. Yes, yes, Shelly. That's exactly what it is. So the cloud in the tent of meeting was a symbol for the people of Israel to let them know that God was with them. It's something that in these days, is in this day and age, when you come to a synagogue, we don't have an explicit sign from God that God is present. It's interesting. We don't think about that. We hope God is present there. We hope we create a welcoming environment in the synagogue where God will feel welcome and the presence of God will fill the place. But I don't think, and without criticizing any synagogue in particular, I would say that there are some synagogues around the world where I'm pretty sure the presence of God is not there. I don't know your experience. If you want to share with me, type it in the chat. If you ever run into a situation like this, where you went to a place that because of their practice or the kind of people or the way you were treated, you had your doubts that the presence of God was in that place. And it's just a feeling, it's a gut feeling. Hello, C. Sam Bailey, welcome. So back in the day, the tabernacle, they had a proof that God approved, and that was the cloud there. Okay, so at the beginning, they earned the glory of God, and it was a cloud there to make them know that they earned it. But then sometimes they will lose it. Sometimes they will lose it. For example, with the episode of the 12 spies, they lost it for 40 years, and it was terrible. So, yeah. Now, this is one of the things that I want to discuss with you because this Parsha is packed with what is the word? Anthropomorphism, something like that. I'm translating from Spanish here. So when you make a representation of God, an image of God, like you represent God as a person, for example. And there are lots of things like that in this parsha. When specifically say, that the presence of God was a cloud. What do you mean the presence of God was a cloud? So outside the cloud there was no God and was only there. It's tough to follow. I'm talking about theologically, it's tough to follow, try to understand what was so different from being there when with the cloud in front of you at being in another place on earth. That means that God was not there in another place on earth. So, you know what I mean? It's tough to know. And the rabbis take this very seriously. And they quote, for example, anthropomorphic, I think it is. Anthropomorphic. Yeah, I was close. I was close. So, the rabbis quote this verse from the book of Kings, the first book of Kings, to try to prove the point. And listen to this. But will God really dwell on earth? Even the heavens to their uttermost reaches cannot contain you. How much less this house that I have built? Now, fast forward to the Temple of Solomon. Okay? Temple of Solomon, it was pretty much a continuation of the sanctuary. And then people, even in those days, they were wondering, hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. We were asked to make a house for the Lord. Great. But now that I think about it, how is it possible that we, human beings, can make something that contains God if not even the heavens can contain God? Because God is infinite. So what is this mishigas that God said, build me a house and I will be there? What do you think? What do you think? Let me know in the chat if you have any comments about this, because I think it's very profound. It's very profound. And to me, when we reflect about this topic, it's probably helping us. It's probably helping us to understand what God really wants from us. Oh, thank you, David. That's what makes Melchizedek so special. Yeah, Brenda, you said, unfortunately, their buildings here claim to be places of worship, but there is little or no relationship with Adonai. Yeah, I agree. And I'm saying not just synagogues. We all know this is not exclusive on Judaism. I've spoken with some Christian clergy, and they complain about the same thing. That there are some houses of worship that well, let's say that their behavior it's not a welcoming behavior. So if the place is not welcoming for people, how can it be welcoming for God? That is the reflection that we as leaders have all the time. And also the way we measure, the way we operate. And we truly think here at the Shaare Zedek that if the building is not welcoming for people, it's surely not welcoming for God. That's the thing. Yeah. So, just something to think about it. Now, the Midrash will take that verse from the book of Kings and explain it this way. Listen to this. It is written, it is written there, even the heavens to their uttermost reaches cannot contain you. Okay? And there is and there and here it is written, I mean we said here is in the Torah, not in the book of Kings, but now in the Torah, is written, the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. How can we put the two together? So Rabbi Yeshua of Sachnin said in the name of Rabbi Levi, to what is this likened? To an open cave at the edge of the sea. When the sea storms, the cave is filled. When the sea is not reduced. But the sea is not reduced. So too, even though it is written that the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle, the upper and lower world did not lose anything of the brilliance of the glory of the Holy One. So this is very interesting because the Midrash is opening the idea where God could be absent from certain places. And I think this is a fascinating thing. That is what I was telling you before. I think we are partnering with God to make space for God to be there, so to speak. So to speak. It's not that God is expanding to fill up the place. It's that we are actually blocking the presence of God in certain places with our behavior. And this is something that is not just for leaders. It's for leaders, for congregants, for greeters, for ushers, for everyone, because we are all part of the same thing to make our houses of worship more welcoming to everyone, It should be a goal for all of us. Yeah. Now, let's continue. Now, this is taken. Let me be sure. Yeah, for the Sefer HaChinuch, that is talking about all the 613 commandments, and this is the book expanding about the mitzvah of building the tabernacle. Okay, Holy, what do you say? Maybe it's a reflection of God's goodness that can be captured in the relationship between people in the building. Yes, absolutely. This is something that sometimes we miss, and because we are so blinded by the commandments and the fulfilling of the commandments that we cannot see beyond it, and the way our way of fulfilling commandments perhaps is not the best, because in our passion to be meticulous in the way we fulfill the commandments, we are not being nice to other people. And so it's a combination between fulfilling the commandments but being more I like what you said, Holly, here, being more as a reflection of God's goodness. The two have to be hand by hand. Fulfilling the commandments and being a reflection of God's goodness. And it's not so easy sometimes to pay attention to these two things at the same time. And I will give you an example. That a rabbi told me once. We were talking about this. I'm talking about here about 30 years ago. We're talking about kavanah and what is a real prayer. What constitutes a real prayer? And we're talking about, the kavanah and the singing and the moving. And so, and the rabbi said, real prayer is simpler. Real prayer is when you finish the Amida and you take the three steps to the back, you look behind you to be sure you're not stepping on anybody's toes. That's true prayer. You know what I mean? It's not being so self-centered on our own spiritual indulgence that we don't pay attention of what's going on around us. It's as simple or as difficult as that. Brenda, you said, Rabbi Anibal share a team create an environment where people want to be personal line, where we feel the love and not wrapping. Oh, thank you so much. I will highlight it. This is a nice one. This is a nice one. So thank you so much, Brenda. Okay, let's go to Sefer HaMitzvot. It said, to build a house for the name of God. Okay, that is the commandment. That means that we should be bringing our sacrifices to God there. Okay, so it's also for us to understand that it's not that God will be living there literally. So make a house for God. It means build a place where you can bring your sacrifices there. This day and age, you will say, where you can bring your prayers there. You can be inspired by the architecture, or it will be enough space for people to sit there comfortably. So it is important. That's why synagogues are important. Now, the underlying purpose of this precept, know, my son, that God gets nothing from a person observance of the commandments, and it is only that God desired to benefit us. And I say this all the time. The fulfillment of the commandment is for our benefit. And when the person will be prepared and readied through the performance of those commandments to receive God's benefits, then God will indeed provide the individual with it. There is one passage in the Torah which outlines this principle. And it says, now, O Israel, what does God require of you? For your own good. In other words, God only requires you to perform His commandments because this is in your best interest. Note what follows. Look, the heavens and heavens of heavens are the Lord your God's, the earth and all that is therein. In other words, God does not need your performance. It was only God's love for you that prompted God to do you a good turn. Similarly, the building of a house in God's name and our performance therein of acts of prayer, sacrifices, was to put us in the right frame of mind to worship God. Not because God needs to dwell among people where we to build it of cedars and cypresses. It will not suffice, for the heavens and the upper heavens cannot contain God. How much less a house built by mortals? Far be it. For it is the impact on ourselves which is important. Repeated action make their impact on body and mind, purifying both. God wishes to promote the benefit of God's creatures. That is why God commanded us to set aside the place of the highest purity, there to purify people's thoughts and refine our characters. And this has been discussed multiple times by the rabbis, the concept of refining our characters. And we have many things in Jewish practice that specifically target that area of our life, refining our characters. And one of the most powerful tools that we have to achieve this is the synagogue. So, making a space for God in a synagogue, guys, is for our own benefit. If we can create a place where we can feel the presence of God, it's for our own benefit. Because then we go home, we go back to life, we go back to our routines, and we are overwhelmed with so many things that it's very difficult to capture the presence of God. It's not that it's impossible. It is the best possible scenario if what we can fill every place we go with the presence of God. But we should start from the synagogue. So that's why when you come to a synagogue, it's very important that you can feel the warmth of the people, and by feeling the warmth of people, you can feel the warmth of God. And the music That's the same. It fills your soul. And the sermons is the same. We get inspired by the words of God. That's why we rabbis like to use quotes from the Torah, from the Talmud, from the Midrash, to make us feel the presence of God either in our lives or to get inspiration from the Word of God, which is also very important, right? So, yeah. Let's continue. Now, this is a very interesting quote that is what I was telling you. Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Liadi, he said, this is what man is all about. And I should say in this, I mean, I tried to leave it the way he wrote it, but in this day and age, we should say this is what people are all about, right? Not just man. Forgive him. That's the way people used to write in those days. This is the purpose of God's creation and of the creation of all the worlds, higher and lower. That there be made for God a dwelling in the lower realms. That's it. And that's what I was saying. It's not just the synagogue. Not just the synagogue. It should be everywhere we go. And that's why you could be in the office. And then you want to eat something at the office, just say a blessing. When you say a blessing before you eat, you make space for God in your office, in your workplace. There are things that we can do to remember the presence of God at all the time. Now, there is a commandment. There is a beautiful book that I read long ago. Unfortunately, now with the move to the new office, I couldn't find it anymore, but I wanted to read it again. That is called the 6 Constant Mitzvot. So commandments that we should be fulfilling all the time, 24/7, and this feeling of the presence of God is one of the 6 constant mitzvot. And I remember reading this book long ago and impressed me a lot, and things about never thought about it, but this is one of the things that we can do. Feel the presence of God everywhere we go, all day. Now, Ravin, son of Rav Ada, in the name of Rabbi Yitzchak, declared, from where do we know that the Holy One, blessed is He, is present in a synagogue? Since it is written, God stands amidst the congregation of the Lord. Now, why the Talmud brings this question? For what I mentioned at the beginning of the class. Back in the days, when the people of Israel was traveling in the desert, they have a sanctuary. They had a tabernacle. And the tabernacle, they had the explicit presence of God. And it was clear for them that God was with them during the day, and at night was a pillar of fire, so God was there. They could see it. They could imagine and they could remember all the time that God was with them. But in this day and age, it takes more for us to feel the presence of God. So the Talmud, at a time where they could not offer sacrifices anymore, so how can we know that God is also present in our synagogues, in this new model? And then he says, because the book of Psalms says, God stands amidst the congregation of the Lord. So I guess the first thing that we have to do is to become a congregation. Not just about people getting in a building. That's not enough. We have to become a congregation. We have to connect with each other. That's what is expected from us, to bring the presence of God inside a synagogue. So, let's continue. Now, let me read and I will explain after. Because now we are learning a little bit about synagogue specifically. Forget about the sanctuary, the tabernacle, the temple. Okay? Let's concentrate for a minute about our own reality. What we have in this date, which is the synagogue, we don't have a temple anymore. The Rambam, rabbi from the Middle Ages, who was already living in our kind of reality, no temple. He had synagogues. He said, every place, when he said place means town, okay, or neighborhood. Every place that has 10 or more Jews must prepare a house in which they will gather for prayer at all the appropriate prayer times. Okay? This place is called House of Gathering, Beit HaKnesset. We call it Shul these days. And the townspeople can legally force each other to build the Beit HaKnesset and to buy a scroll of the Torah. Okay? So now the Rambam is explaining that building a synagogue is a mitzvah. It's also a commandment. And then if you live in a place where 10 or more Jews, you need to dedicate a place where you can find each other. Let's put it that way. Because this is one of the things that people don't realize, that one of the hidden purposes of the synagogue is for Jews to find each other. Because we've been expelled from so many countries, we move around so much in history that it was fundamental for Jews that they were new in town to be able to find each other. And the synagogue provided that. And that's why Rambam will say we should be able to enforce the building of a Beit HaKnesset, of a synagogue, and to buy the scroll of Torah, because this is key for our survival. Otherwise, we won't be able to find each other and to connect with each other. And we know, and unfortunately, a Jew cannot survive in isolation. Very important to remember. John, you said Constant Connection by Rabbi Noah Weinberg about the 6 constant. No, the book was called 6 Constant Mitzvot. That was the name of the book. See, Sam Bailey, I guess you wrote something, but I cannot see any text on what you wrote. There is nothing on my computer. I don't know. Just saying. Okay, Shelley, you said, what about the Ner Tamid? Is it a sign? Well, the Ner Tamid. Oh, okay, Sam, now I see your comment. So the Ner Tamid, Shelley, it is a reminder of the temple. It is a reminder of the flame that it was always burning in the temple. So we have certain things in the synagogue as a reminder of the old good days of the temple in Jerusalem. One is the Ner Tamid. The other one is the way we dress the Torah, representing the garments of the Kohen, of the priest, and so forth. We have some symbols like that. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. If anybody can find that book, the 6 Contents Mitzvot, just let me know. I'm always curious. And otherwise, if you know me at all, as soon as we finish this class, I will go and search for it. Yeah. Let's continue. Now, it was taught, Rabbi Shimon, son of Yochai, this is Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai, the famous rabbi that we all remember for Lag BaOmer. It was taught. Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai says, see how beloved the people of Israel are before the Holy One, blessed be He. For whatever they were exiled, God's presence went with them. They went down to Egypt. God's presence was with them. They were exiled to Babylon. God's presence was with them. Where in Babylon is God's presence to be found? Abaye says, in the synagogue of Hutzal, and in the synagogue of Shaf Veyativ in Nahardea. I have been for the people as a lesser sanctuary in the lands in which they have arrived, said Ezekiel. Said Rabbi Yitzchak, this refers to the synagogue and houses of studies in Babylon. So, yeah, there was already in the Talmud the concept of connecting the synagogue with the temple, and that's why we add a little bit of symbolism. I mean, the most obvious one is also the Ner Tamid and the Ark, the Holy Ark, that represents the Ark that used to be at the center of the Holy Temple, the Ark of the Covenant. And also when you open the Ark, there is a curtain. It's called the Parochet. And the Parochet is something that it was at the temple at the time, this curtain, so it has to be there. So, yeah, we have this beautiful symbolism to remind us of that. Now, Shelley, for your convenience, I put it here so you can understand some of the symbolism that we have. The architecture of the synagogue parallels certain elements of the temple. Number one, Shelley, you mentioned it, the Ner Tamid, the eternal light, reminiscent of the fire on the altar that was never extinguished. The Torah Ark, reminiscent of the ark that held the tablets containing the Ten Commandments that was kept in the Holy of Holies. If you come to Shaare Zedek, you will also see a representation of the Ten Commandments on top of the ark, which is also common in the synagogue. Now, some synagogues will have the podium in the middle. In the Shaare Zedek, we have two podiums on the side, but if you go to mostly Orthodox synagogues, they have one podium in the middle, reminiscent of the altar in the middle of the courtyard. And then go to the Orthodox synagogues, you will have a mechitza, the division between men and women, reminiscent of the separate men's and women's section in the temple. So, yeah, there is an effort by the rabbis to do this. The Midrash Rabbah will say something very interesting. That listen to this. There was one a king who had an only daughter, and one of the kings came and married her. When her husband wished to return to his country, her father said to him, "My daughter, whose hand I had given you, is my only child. I cannot part with her. Neither I can say to you, do not take her, for she is your wife now. So, this one favor, however, I ask of you. Wherever you go to live, prepare a chamber for me, that I might dwell with you, for I cannot leave my daughter." The same way God said to Israel, "I have given you the Torah, I cannot part with her, and I also cannot tell you not to take her. But this I request of you, wherever you go, make me a house wherein I may dwell." And this is extremely important because it's not just about having the Torah. Having the Torah and not having, so to speak, God next to it, with everything that you guys been saying during the class, right? And what was the thing one of the comments that I like here about God? What is it? Um, God goodness. Okay, having the Torah without being aware and being a reflection of God goodness is like this midrash that is saying, it's like us not making room for the King of Kings to come and being next to, quote unquote, his daughter, the Torah. That's what it. That's why we make a beautiful ark for the Torah, and we are responsible that make space for God to be, so to speak, next to the Torah. Now, more about the synagogue. Reish Lakish says, "Whoever has a synagogue in his town but does not go there in order to pray is considered to be an evil neighbor." So, and I heard this many times when people say, "I don't need a synagogue to find the presence of God." I'm pretty sure we've all been there, done that. Okay, that we rather don't come to synagogue and we find God individually, right? And that's fine. You can do that. There are, ouch, there is space in Judaism for private prayer outside the synagogue. It's called bodedut and dveikut. We make our own time with God outside the synagogue, but that's supposed to be a supplement, not a replacement. We should have both moments. A moment where we can go to synagogue to be with God and the community, and a moment where we can find God in our homes, in a park next to our homes, and so forth. But it's extremely important for us to develop the habit to come to synagogue. because by you going to synagogue, you become part of this goal of making God present at that place, which it goes beyond your individual prayers. We are all part of that, for sure. Now, this is something that you should all know as well. Let me read it first and then I will explain. Because the Rambam, he was a huge believer in this statement. He said, Beit Midrash, house of study, is greater than the Beit HaKnesset. And the great sages, even though they had many synagogues in their cities, only prayed in the place where they studied Torah. That is, when a community minyan prayed there. So, if you've been around the world, and if you ever wanted to visit synagogues, I do that a lot when I travel, you should be aware that there are two models of synagogues. Number one is the model of the Beit Midrash. Here in Winnipeg, it will be like Chabad, where if you go to their quote unquote synagogue, you will see that the aesthetics are weird because all they have are tables. They have an ark, whatever it is, but in the room, it's full of long tables. And what they do is they use all those tables to study all day long. And then whenever it's time for Mincha, for example, they would flip the tables around, they would do a quick davening of Mincha, and they will go back to study. So that place is called a Beit Midrash, not a Beit Knesset. A Beit Knesset is something like Shaarei Zedek, that it was built exclusively for prayers. It doesn't mean that we don't have once in a while a concert or something like that, but you can see by the architecture of the place that is mainly designed for services. Okay, so those are the two things. And the Rambam will say that in history, rabbis will prefer Beit Midrash over a synagogue because it will combine the two. Okay. Now, attending a Beit Midrash is more complicated because the services are done in a different way. Usually, people coming as a regulars of the Beit Midrash, they all know everything. They all know the prayers. So there is very effort to try to make other people's welcome there, because they won't stop to explain to you what's going on. So it takes a while for people to get used to a Beit Midrash. So most people will go to a synagogue because the synagogue, being designed for prayers, the aesthetics and the way we conduct services are friendlier for people who need some guidance on how to do it. Okay? So, and before we run out of time, I'm going to see if I can play the video that I promised you at the beginning, guys. The new song that I put together for Dor Hadash. And this is a preview. And I'm pretty sure if it doesn't go to the congregation this week, will go next week. But it's something for all of you to enjoy. Let me play it for you if I can, and then I'll see you again.
This morning, I hear my children laughing as they play. The trees start singing without warning. It's gonna be a wonderful day. You know I got no patience for complaining. To stop and fetch, but all the bills I have to pay. Even when there should be sunshine, but it's raining. My feet will dance me to the Ketchma anyway. Somebody stop. Baruch Hashem. Kaptila. Baruch Hashem. The blessings are coming while you keep on running. Just stop and sing. Раз, два, три. Хорошо, хорошо. Slava Bogu, хорошо. This is good, life is great. It's a chance
special lesson to be learned.
Because not only when the sun is out and shining, or when you're acing everything you try to do, the master plan is more than just a silver lining. It's a golden road created just for you. Baruch Hashem, how the kids, Baruch Hashem. We hope for the day when the whole world will stand up and say, Раз, два, три, хорошо, хорошо, слава Богу, хорошо. Life is good, life is great. It's a chance to celebrate. Хорошо, хорошо, it's a party, it's a ball, and ain't nothing gonna get me down at all. Хорошо, хорошо, слава Богу, хорошо. Life is good, life is great. What's he look is all hate. Хорошо, хорошо, it's a party, it's a ball, and these three little words, they say it all. Хорошо. When our hearts begin to dance, хорошо. Every breath's another chance. Хорошо, хорошо, слава Богу, хорошо. Слава Богу, слава Богу, хорошо. Хорошо, хорошо, 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 слава Богу, хорошо.
Есть друзья и семья, мирно праздновать пришло.
Хорошо, хорошо.
Высмеяться вид, ведь мы просто всегда очень хорошо.
Хорошо, хорошо, слава Богу, хорошо.
Есть друзья и семья, мирно праздновать пришло.
Хорошо, хорошо.
Высмеяться вид, ведь мы просто всегда очень хорошо.
Хорошо. Ой, хорошо. Ой, хорошо, хорошо, слава Богу, хорошо. Слава Богу, хорошо.
There you got it. Dor Hadash Youth Choir. To me, it's so far my favorite song with the kids. I think they were amazing. They are being able to put together a song that it includes Russian, Hebrew, English, and a little bit of Yiddish. There, it was the most how you call it? The most ambitious song yet. Yeah, yeah. And hopefully we'll go to the congregation soon so everybody can enjoy this again. So thank you everyone. Thank you everyone for connecting this, connecting with us this Torah L'Chaim. Remember, it's going to be restreamed tonight at 8 p.m. Central Time. If I remember, because I forgot last week to program the rebroadcast. So, and hello, Josue Rivera, welcome. So, yeah, 8 p.m. So stay safe, have a wonderful day, and hope to see you soon. And don't forget to go to shul, okay? Bye, everyone. Have a wonderful day.